Welcome back to Grammar Grade 12. I'm really glad you're here. This is Unit 11, Lesson 88, and today we look at a small but useful signal in writing, italics. Italic type is that slanted type you see in print, and when you're writing by hand, you show the very same thing by underlining. Underlining and italics mean exactly the same thing. One is for print, the other for the pen. The interesting part isn't what they look like, though. It's knowing when to reach for them. Titles of long works, the names of ships and spacecraft, foreign phrases, even a word talked about as a word. Let's sort it all out. Let's begin with the big picture. Italics and underlining are the same signal wearing two different outfits. In printed books, you'll see the slanted type we call italics. In your own handwriting, you produce the identical effect by underlining. So whenever I say italicize, just picture yourself drawing a line under the words. And what does that signal actually do? It tells the reader to treat certain words differently. This is the title of a long work, or the name of a ship, or a foreign phrase, or a word I'm holding up to look at as a word. 4 jobs, 1 signal. Let's take them one at a time. First job, the titles of long or complete works. Think of anything big enough to stand on its own. A whole book, a full-length play, a film, a television series, an album, a newspaper, a magazine, a long poem, a painting, or a sculpture. All of those get italics. Suppose I've just finished a novel I made up called The Silent Harbor. When I write, I finally read The Silent Harbor last week. I underline the title. Those 3 words get the bracket that says italics. The test is simple. If the work is large and stands on its own, its title earns italics. Second job, the names of individual ships, trains, aircraft, and spacecraft. Notice the word individual. We mean a single named vehicle, not a whole type. If I invent a ship called the Northern Star, then the sentence reads, "The Northern Star sailed at dawn," with the name underlined. Same with a made-up spacecraft named Meridian 4. The probe Meridian 4 reached orbit. The name of that one particular craft gets the bracket for italics. But be careful. A general model, like a Boeing 747, is a type, not a name, so it stays plain. One named vessel takes italics. Third job, foreign words and phrases that haven't yet settled into English. If a phrase still feels foreign on the tongue, you italicize it. Picture a review that says, "The gallery had a certain je ne sais quoi." That French phrase gets underlined, marked with the bracket for italics, because English hasn't absorbed it. But here's the balance. Plenty of words came from other languages and have become completely at home. Cafe, patio, rendezvous. Those live in English now, so they stay plain, no italics at all. The question to ask is simple. Does this word still feel foreign? If yes, italicize it. If it's fully English, leave it alone. Fourth job, a word, a letter, or a number referred to as itself. This one's a little subtle, so listen closely. Usually, a word does a job in a sentence. It names a thing or an action. But sometimes you stop and talk about the word itself, and then you italicize it. Take this. The word necessary has 1 C and 2 S's. I'm not using necessary to describe anything. I'm holding it up and pointing at it, so it gets the bracket for italics. The same goes for single letters and numbers. Her handwritten 7 looks like a 1. Those figures are italicized because I'm pointing at the symbols themselves. When you name a word, a letter, or a number rather than use it, italicize it. Now, one contrast that trips people up all the time. Italics are for the big, complete works. The small pieces that live inside them get quotation marks instead. So the album as a whole work is italicized. Say a made-up album called Quiet Country, which gets the bracket for italics. But a single song on that album, call it Morning Light, goes in quotation marks, not italics. Same idea everywhere. A magazine is italicized, but one article in it is quoted. A book is italicized, but a single short poem or a chapter is quoted. The whole thing gets italics. The small part inside it gets quotation marks. Let's turn all 4 jobs into a quick check you can run before you underline anything. 1. Is it a long, complete work? A book, a film, an album, a newspaper? Then italics. 2. Is it the name of one particular ship, train, aircraft, or spacecraft? Italics. 3. Is it a foreign word or phrase that still feels foreign? Italics. And 4. Are you naming a word, a letter, or a number as itself rather than using it? Italics again. And remember the flip side. If it's a small piece inside a larger work, a song or an article or a chapter, that takes quotation marks instead. Run those questions and you'll never guess. Let's practice. In this first set, I'll show you a sentence and ask which word should be italicized, that is, underlined. Think about whether you're looking at a whole work, a named vessel, or a small piece that really belongs in quotation marks. Pause the video and decide before I reveal each answer. For the report, Dana read the novel blank. Should Winter Passage be italicized or put in quotation marks? A novel is a long, complete work that stands on its own, and complete works take italics. So Winter Passage is underlined, marking it as a book title, not placed in quotation marks. We toured the retired battleship blank. This is the name of one particular ship, and the names of individual vessels, ships, trains, aircraft, spacecraft, are italicized. So Gray Sentinel is underlined, not placed in quotation marks. My favorite track is blank from that album. Careful here. A single song is a small piece that lives inside a larger work, the album. Small pieces take quotation marks, not italics. So Harbor Lights belongs in quotation marks, while the album's name would be the one that gets italicized. Now the second set. These sentences hide a foreign phrase or a word used as a word. Decide which word should be italicized. And remember that everyday borrowings already at home in English stay plain. Pause and choose before I answer. The chef finished the plate with a quiet blank. Savoir-faire is a French phrase that English still treats as foreign. You can feel that it hasn't fully settled in. Foreign phrases that still feel foreign are italicized, so savoir-faire is underlined. People often spell blank with an A by mistake. Notice we aren't using the word to mean for sure. We're talking about the word itself, holding it up to point at its spelling. A word named as itself is italicized, so definitely is underlined here. And that lone letter A, also named as itself, would be italicized too. We met for lunch at a small blank downtown. This is the trap. Cafe did come from French, but it has been fully absorbed into everyday English. Nobody hears it as foreign anymore. Words that have settled into English stay plain, so cafe gets no italics at all. Let's gather what we've learned. Italics and underlining are one signal with 4 jobs. First, italicize the titles of long, complete works and the names of individual ships, trains, aircraft, and spacecraft. Second, italicize foreign words and phrases that still feel foreign, and any word, letter, or number you're naming as itself rather than using. And third, keep the contrast in mind. The small pieces inside a larger work, like a song, an article, or a chapter, take quotation marks, not italics. When you're writing by hand, remember, italics simply means underline. Next time, in Lesson 89, we'll turn to the apostrophe, that small mark that shows possession and stands in for missing letters. I'll see you there.